Music venues can be magical places to make memories that will last a lifetime, and those experiences can be very personal to us. Different people can get attached to different venues for different reasons, but there are some venues that many people can agree are legendary. In this video, I'll be covering my personal top 10, and I'll do my best to remain as objective as possible, but I will be saving a few spots for personal bias. I'll only be ranking venues that I've personally been to, so if I leave out your personal favorite, it's likely because I haven't experienced it for myself, but I would love to hear your favorites in the comments. I'm always down to check out new venues whenever I get the chance. So with that being said, let's get into it. Number 10, the Observatory in Santa Ana, California. I personally like this one mostly due to its intimate feel. It was originally opened in 1994 as the Galaxy Theater, but it became the Observatory in 2011. It's a 1,000 cap venue, but it feels much more intimate than other venues with similar capacities. The general admission floor features 3 different standing room levels in a ring-like shape, which makes it easy to see the stage no matter how far back you are. That unique design makes it a much better experience than a venue of similar capacity that just has one single flat level floor. It's not the craziest venue in the world, and it's not worth traveling to, but if you are in the area, it's definitely a solid place to catch a show, which is why it's coming in at number 10. Number 9, Marathon Music Works. Located in Nashville, Tennessee, it was originally built as an automotive manufacturing plant in the early 1900s, but it was converted to a music venue in 2011. It has a cool rustic/industrial feel, and the whole Marathon Village outside of the venue has a lot of cool things to do, so you can definitely spend some time there before a show. This was where I went to my first concert ever when I got to see Odessa in 2015, and it became a place that I would frequent often. I was lucky to catch a lot of great shows there over the years. I got to see Big Wild when he was the lowest billed opener at that Odessa show, and it was his first tour ever, but then I got to see him headline the same venue 4 years later, so that was a really cool experience. I would normally rank it higher due to my own personal bias of it being my introduction into the world of live music, but there are cooler venues out there which I wanted to list higher. Plus, I've saved a couple of spots later on for personal bias. Number 8, the Ritz Ebor in Tampa, Florida. The venue is 106 years old, and if you've ever been to Ebor in Tampa, then you know how unique of a place it is. It feels like a miniature version of the New Orleans French Quarter, but with a strong Cuban influence. They get consistent talent there every week, with bass music every Friday and house, techno, or trance every Saturday. It honestly feels like you're at a festival when you're in there, but my only complaint is that it's been heavily renovated, so it doesn't feel very historic on the inside, it only looks that way on the outside. The next 3 on this list are also very historic venues, but they preserve that feeling a lot better than the Ritz has, which is why I'm not ranking it higher. Number 7, the Paramount Theater in Seattle. It's an absolutely stunning venue, and it feels like you're royalty as soon as you walk in. The architecture is jaw-dropping, and the only reason that I'm not ranking it even higher is because of its age. Don't get me wrong, it's really old. It's 95 years old to be exact, but the next 2 venues that I'll be talking about are over 100 years old, which I think is worthy of a higher placement. Number 6, the Teragram Ballroom in Los Angeles. It's a historically rich venue that's over 100 years old. It has been used for many different things over the past 100 years, starting out as a theater for plays, but then it was a place where people would go to watch silent films up until the mid-1950s. After that, it became a print shop, and then later became a combination of a violin store and a church, and now it serves as a live music venue. It's not the most visually stunning venue, but its rich history makes it a special place. Number 5, the Tabernacle in Atlanta. It just feels like a really special venue. The building is over 100 years old, but it was converted to a music venue in 1996. Its original architectural integrity has been preserved very well, and you can just feel the history in there the moment that you walk in. The only reason I'm putting this one ahead of the Teragram Ballroom is because it just feels a lot more grand on the inside, but they both do have that strong historic feel. Number 4, the International in Knoxville, Tennessee. Rest in peace. The building was built in 1900, but it became a music venue in the 80s. However, unfortunately, as of 2018, it is no longer a music venue. I'll admit that I'm definitely biased about this one. I've only ever been to one show there. When I saw Grizz in 2015, it was one of the first concerts that I ever went to, with the first one being earlier that same year. It was a pretty special night for a few different reasons. Big Wild was the main opener that night, and I got to meet him and hang out with him for a little bit after the show, and it's been cool to see how far he has come since then, since that was his second tour ever. So with the International, there were actually two music venues connected to each other in the building. The International is the main one, but then the Concourse is a smaller attached venue right next door. So after Grizz's show at the International, he threw an after party at the Concourse, which is where I got to hang out with Big Wild for a little bit, and I also got the chance to meet Muzzy Bear. Plus the ticket was only like $20 or so I got quite the bang for my buck considering the overall experience, as well as getting two Grizz sets. Grizz is obviously way bigger now, so I'm really grateful for how special of a moment that was to see him at that specific point in his career. So with all that said, there was nothing really too special about the venue itself. It was really just the experience that I had there that made me want to put it so high up on the list. Number 3, Exit In Nashville, Tennessee. This one is ranked so high because of its sentimental value to me, since it was a venue that I frequently attended when I first started going to shows, and it has a very special, intimate vibe. Around the bar, they have all of the names of artists who have played there, and it really immerses you in the history of the place, seeing so many famous names from so many different eras. It's been open for over 50 years now, so quite an array of musicians from various genres have performed there over the years. They also always have free water, which is a huge plus, and the bathroom is literally on the stage off to the side, so you feel like you're still in the middle of a show even if you take a bathroom break. There was a scare in 2022 that it was going to shut down after 51 years of operation, but new ownership took over and kept it open. Number 2, Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado. This one takes the cake for most beautiful venue by a long shot, and the only reason it isn't number 1 is because of the sound. The sound quality gets worse the higher up you go in the seats, since you're essentially above the area that the speakers are covering, and my number 1 spot is all about sound, so I had to knock Red Rocks down 1. With that being said, it's widely considered the best venue in North America, and some would even say it's the best in the world. I think any music lover should go there at least once in their life, as it's such an unforgettable experience. Getting to see your favorite artist perform at night with a backdrop of all the lights from downtown Denver and its surrounding areas is a scene that you will never forget. Number 1, The Black Box in Denver, Colorado. A friend of mine took me to this venue a couple years ago, and I was completely blown away by the experience. It's very obvious that an extremely high level of care was taken to ensure the best audio experience possible. The walls are covered in soundproofing panels, which prevents any unnecessary reverb, and it keeps the sound very crisp and pure. The bass is incredibly powerful, but it's not distorted in the slightest, and it makes it the ultimate destination for bass music fans. I would only consider myself a moderate fan of bass music, but anyone will quickly fall in love with it in the context of a show at the Black Box. It's the smallest venue on this list with a capacity of just 300, but that means that there's no bad spot in the house. I'm not sure if this will be controversial being at the number 1 spot ahead of Red Rocks, but it really stood out to me, and it's evident that the owners care deeply about curating the best possible live experience. I wanted to throw in some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list but are still worthy of some recognition. The first is Mardi Gras World in New Orleans. It's just an interesting venue due to its significance to the Mardi Gras traditions in New Orleans, and it's also home of New Orleans Buku Fest. Its biggest downside is the sound, which is honestly straight up terrible, but if you can get over that, it is still a fun place to catch a show. Next is the Attic in Tampa, Florida. Rest in peace. It was basically right across the street from the Ritz Ebor, which was number 8 on the list, and it was a much smaller venue than the Ritz, but it had a really cool vibe. It was on the 2nd floor of a brewery, and you could take an elevator to the 2nd floor that immediately opened up onto the dance floor, which was a pretty cool experience. Unfortunately, it shut down this year, and it was only open since 2016, so it was pretty short-lived. And last of the honorable mentions is the Del Monte Speakeasy in Venice Beach in Los Angeles. You won't catch any big names here, but it's a special place, no doubt. It's located in the basement of a townhouse on the beachfront of Venice Beach in Los Angeles. The building is over 100 years old, and it served as a real speakeasy during Prohibition. I only went there once, but it definitely left its mark on me. I went there for an underground house music night, and I felt like I got to experience what the house music scene felt like back in the day. I wasn't familiar with any of the DJs, and they were all older and had clearly been around the house music scene for a very long time. I didn't recognize any of the tracks that they played, and it felt like a real house music set that took you on a journey rather than just build-ups and drops that you might catch at a festival. I'm not knocking that because those sets are definitely a lot of fun, but something about the experience just felt so pure and it's really stuck with me. It's not specifically a house music venue, and I think it's more local bands that play there than anything, but if you're ever in the area and you do get the chance to catch a house music night there, you should definitely take the opportunity and go. So obviously this list is just my personal opinions based on my experiences, but I would be curious to hear about your favorite venues, so let me know in the comments.